And I want to let you know, guys and girls that are watching this video, we've got a great session now because Sarah, who is one of the founders of RiTA, and by the way, I don't have a financial relationship with RiTA. It is simply a product that I can't help it. When I look around at the clients that are gym members or their officers who I've got a relationship with their principals, whether it's Harris Real Estate, whether it's Kaloshi, whoever they are, they seem to be using RiTA. And I'm pleased to let everyone know that today, Sarah, one of the founders of RiTA, is going to talk to us about how SMSing can be done with RiTA and prospecting. I'm obsessed with text messaging because, Sarah, text messaging, look, on the surface, it looks like, oh, that's an easy way out. Just pick up the phone. However, I notice I get results by text messages. It works for me. I send text messages when I want to get something happening in a really fast way. Text is often the place I go to first. So, yeah. So how have you been? By the way, it's a great haircut.
Thank you. It's pick on mum week at the Bell household. I've had a rough time of it, so this is my new hair. Thank you.
And let me tell you, I can relate to it because do you know Madeline, who is my oldest daughter now doing her HSC, when she was young, she actually looked identical to Dora the Explorer. Everyone used to call her Dora, the whole school. She used to look exactly like Dora the Explorer. And even we'd go on holiday. We were in holidays in Fiji once and we're walking, we can hear kids, that's Dora the Explorer. Look, mummy, that's Dora the Explorer. So
for those of you who haven't seen the reference on Facebook, I have a daughter who's almost 18 years of age. And I sent her a photo of my new haircut, new look, and her comment back was Dora the Explorer, but the much later years. And I feel like too muches was just superfluous and unnecessarily cruel, but I'm kind of proud of her.
By the way, have you noticed that Sarah doesn't sound like your normal real estate agent? Because she's not. She's a scientist. Have you noticed some of the words she uses? They're bigger than the words that we're used to in real estate. She's a scientist, right? And scientists are interesting people because what scientists do is they work on facts and data more than saying, I think this, right? This is my view, right? So let's start off. And I want to ask you, number one, SMSing. There's so much. Look, here's the thing about technology. Artificial technology, digital pre-listing kits, people jumping in on signing on glass. It seems like we're in, we're just in, at the moment, I've never, ever seen, Sarah, so many things, so many technology salespeople ringing people up saying this will change your life. Tell me more about RiTA and SMSing.
Funnily enough, I've got some slides, Tom, with graphs on them. So I'm glad that you've warned everybody about who I am and what I do. And so look, you're right. It is a really noisy place at the moment in real estate. There is more tech than ever before. And I think one of the things that agents have been afflicted by is the fact that they've got these really heavy technology stacks that fracture off data into different systems, and there's a huge learning burden, and it's all quite onerous. So we kind of made a vow at AiRE, which is the company I co-founded that make RiTA, that we were only going to develop towards proven problems. And so we constantly analyze what we're doing, and since we started, probably the biggest problem that we see in real estate is this area that we call engagement, specifically disengaged data in the CRM. So what you're looking at now is an analysis that RiTA's done of an agent's database, and she's done thousands of these for all of our different users. And so what you can see is that the very dark red section of this shows us that 30% of this database has never been engaged. And when I'm talking about engagement, Tom, I'm not talking about like a bulk newsletter or a blast or even like an SMS blast. I'm talking about humanized, and I say humanized instead of human because it doesn't have to be done by a human, but it does have to be humanized and personalized and individualized to the contact in some way. So it feels human. So 30% of this database has never had that experience with this agency. You'll see that 91% of this database has not been engaged with within 6 months, and 92% of the database has not been engaged within 3 months. And so that becomes a really big problem when we look at the 91% of all of the email addresses and phone numbers and property owners and everything in the community that we're supposed to be getting listings out of. They just haven't had contact from agents in such a long time. So that's what we call the big red, and that's the proven problem that we're trying to address with SMS.
Okay, so and I love that, because I hate doing things that don't need to get done. But here we do have a problem. We have a problem. We have a bunch of names that many agents have. Many of them are have not mets, not met them at all. They're sitting there in the system. And I often have agents, when I ask them, how many people you got in your CRM system? They say, 5,000. And then they sort of start feeling guilty. I want to let you know, it's just all this data there. I've got to work through it, and you see them start justifying, hey, it's a fat database. I get it. It's not a good one. So the problem that RiTA is addressing is that most agents have got an unengaged database.
100%. And it becomes even more interesting when I break it out into channels. So when we're looking at this slide now, the donut in the top left is that graph that we just looked at. But if you come down directly underneath that, you can see that there's 56% of the database that hasn't been emailed, but 42% of the email channel have received emails and unsubscribed. So what this is telling us is that in terms of emailing people, this bulk email that we're doing is actually really limiting our ability to engage with our customers in a humanized way via the email channel. So we can see that of all the customers that they can email, very few of them have actually been emailed in a personal way, and that's really had an impact because 42% of the database we can no longer reach via that channel. SMS has a little bit of that in the terms of, the whole database that we can SMS. There's about 18% that we can't reach via the SMS channel on this particular analysis. Obviously, this is just one anonymous, channel. But the good news is that we can reach, 81% of the data by SMS. But the phone channel, because it's used so infrequently, there's 97% of the phone channel is available to us in order to talk to our customers. So, we know that the phone is going to give us the best coverage and the most kind of intimate or personal contact. But, agents have the same 24 hours in a day as Beyonce, and they've got a lot of work to do in that time. So SMS is probably the next best or the next most intimate channel. And pretty much what we're seeing in terms of trends across all of the databases, that there is, a really large chunk of the data that we can connect with via SMS.
Okay, so who for the agents that are watching, who are the best people to be SMSing? So in a database, you've got lots of various different categories, right? So what do you think are the best contacts for RiTA to be taken? By the way, anyone that's confused the first time they're listening to Sarah, when she refers to RiTA, whilst RiTA is traditionally the name of a female, RiTA in this instance is the name of the the system, the software. Is that what we call it? RiTA's the software.
Yeah, Rita's a robot. She's a
RiTA's a robot. RiTA's the robot. Who are the best people for RiTA to be texting?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think quite often, we think with the database, we've got to attack it from, like Aaron Aardvark and, AiRE Wall Street and work our way through in A to Z. But what we've found, and what certainly that engagement graph showed us, is that there is a small segment of the database that we are contacting. And so we know that in the CRM, there's obviously a small group that agents think are really important and urgent to contact. And by that theory, there's obviously people who are not important or urgent to contact, and they're the ones that are disengaged. And so when we think about breaking up the CRM or the community of contacts that are in the CRM based on this Eisenhower matrix, which is a tool to kind of understand what's important and what's urgent, it falls pretty evenly into these 4 quadrants. And you can see that, people that are urgent but not important are people who are actively looking in the market, active buyers, buyer sellers, buyer investors, or your inbound leads. That stuff's all really urgent. You've got to get back to them quickly. But the most important and urgent people that you're going to have to talk to are your current vendors and your buyers and people that you're bidding toward, working towards an auction. And it would be really inappropriate to kind of send a text message that really generally asks them if they want an appraisal when you're due to call their auction on Saturday. So we have to kind of match the appropriate content to the appropriate group within your database community. And then on the left-hand side of the group of this graph here, we've got people who are important and not urgent, and they're people like property owners who you have a relationship with, and anyone that's really on a nurture campaign. And so they would be the group up in the top left-hand quadrant. And down in the bottom quadrant, you have dormant data, which is old data. I call it the vortex of darkness. It's all of that buyer data that comes in, and you tag them as a current buyer, but they don't buy that particular property, so they just get lost in the CRM. People in the orphanage, so property owners or contacts that aren't managed by anyone. So they might be managed by people in like the marketing team in the business, or they might have belonged to people who used to work here but don't work here anymore. You've got owners who we know own property, but we don't know when or if they're going to sell. Inactive buyers, and then just general dirty data. So that's in that quadrant that is sort of not urgent and not important. And what we know from all of the analysis that we've done is 90% of the data in the CRM sits either in that bottom quadrant that is not urgent, not important.
Yes. It's
people that are unqualified and ignored, and then potentially some of it as well on that nurture program. So that's where the bulk of the data is. That's where the bulk of the work is. And but it's definitely not what an agent is doing that they would consider urgent. No one's going to leave an auction to go and call through inactive buyers.
Yeah. I mean, people, generally speaking, you wake up, Sarah, and what you're looking at is high probability conversations, right? That's life, and often in an agent's mind, not every client is worth equal to them at a particular moment, at a particular day, right? So again, Sarah, because can you just quickly go looking at that slide, because I've lost track. Bottom left is not urgent, not important.
Yeah, bottom left, not urgent, not important. So we don't know what they want and they're not about to do anything now. Top is important and not urgent. So people like our, property owners who we sort of talk to sometimes, or established clients, they're not going to sell. They've got a low level of activity in the market. They're not going to sell like immediately, but they will sell at some point. And then on the right-hand side, in the top right-hand corner, we've got people that are urgent and important. So your current vendors and your most qualified buyers. And then down the bottom is urgent but not important, meaning you don't have a relationship with them yet. It's not that they won't become important, but they are not currently important. You're just meeting them, but they have an urgent request for service with regards to the property that you might be selling.
Okay, one thing I've already got out of this conversation, I was aware of it, but now it's become clear. I think most agents are not connecting to enough of their database. I think most agents are focused on their next 10 sellers, the next 10 people.
100%. And the entire kind of right-hand side of this, this graph, our current vendors and our current buyers, that's that 10% that's just taking up all of our time. And then agents wonder where the rest of their listings are going to come from. And it's in the long game, which is on that left-hand side. It's our, it's where the bulk of our data is sitting that's disengaged. And that's because
so you've got me sold here. What can RiTA do to nurture opportunities out of the 90%?
Yeah, 100%. And look, the reason that it is so disengaged is because this is not, this is a resourcing problem. If you had 10 PAs, it wouldn't be disengaged, would it? But not everybody can afford that. And so that whole section becomes then an excellent candidate for a resource that is low cost and scalable and able to essentially do a lot of the humanized work for you, just to escalate it once it becomes important and urgent. And so that's really, I guess, fundamentally the why that is sitting behind these SMS conversations. So we know that, about 80% of the database you're able to connect with via SMS, and about 90% of the database you're kind of ignoring anyway. So why not have RiTA have an SMS conversation with them, a two-way SMS conversation with them, and then anybody that needs your help right now will respond. And you can just handle the escalation. So you don't have to make 100 phone calls. You can get RiTA to send 20 text messages, 25% of people reply and want appraisals, then you've got sort of 4 or 5 extra appraisals a day to go through, all from people that you were at no risk of calling anyway, because they're sitting in that part of the database that is not, right at the top of your mind as the most important and urgent people for you to call.
So from a execution point of view, is this whole process done, an agent doing it on their mobile phone? Are they doing it through RiTA? I'm looking at that one there right here. Hi, Stephen. I hope you're well. At Delta Agent, we report that will give you an estimate on your property's value. Would you like me to send you there? They reply, yes. Is that an auto responder? Great, thanks, Stephen. Or that's the agent?
So what happens is that RiTA uses artificial intelligence to work out who the best 20 people would be from that, that section of data that you're, might be ignoring anyway, who the best 20 people would be for her to start a conversation with. And she gives that list to you so that you've got an opportunity in the morning to say, oh, look, don't call that person, like to skip anyone, just to kind of moderate it. And then otherwise you just let it go and RiTA starts the conversation. So she creates the conversation for you. So RiTA will write something to those 20 people. And it's really important to understand that we're doing this for 20 people at a time per agent. It's not 200 people. It's not 2,000 people. It's not 20,000 people. Because we know at the end of the day, there's really high response rate to this because it is so personalized. And if you send it to 20,000 people, you might end up with 5,000 things to do, which is going to end up in a service failure for about 4,990 people. So we try and kind of be a bit smart with how we do this. So about 20 people a day, RiTA will start a conversation and she'll text them. She's got her own phone number. Hi Stephen, hope you're well. At Delta Agency, we've got a report that will give you an estimate on your property's current value. Would you like me to send you one for your property? Kind regards, RiTA. Now, obviously, Delta Agency isn't real, but substitute LJ Hooker, whatever, in there. And then they write back, they respond, and they might respond yes, they might respond no, thank you. I see a lot of people just write no thanks, RiTA, but it was nice to hear from you, which is lovely. But if they respond back yes, she knows what to say. She says, great, thanks, Stephen. I'll get this over to you ASAP. Just confirm your property address and the email you'd like me to send it to. They write back, she says thanks. And you know what, because she's intelligent, she knows what to say. So if they say no thanks, she'd be like, not a problem. I'll keep you updated in the future when things change.
But also, Sarah, I want to highlight, because I know from your non-SMS product, your core product had the ability to work out, these are people you should call today. So I presume it has the same thinking with the texting.
Oh yeah, of course. So, you might have 2,000 people that are eligible for RiTA to start a conversation with today. But what RiTA's job is to start the conversation with 20 people, knowing that about 25% of them will respond. And that way you've only got to really handle about 5 interactions with the most qualified leads, and RiTA hands over her conversation with you. So you can see what's happened, like the conversation that RiTA's had, and then you just pick it up and do the appraisal. And it's really, we underestimate the power of language in real estate. And I think it's probably one of the hangovers of like the digital kind of era and web forms and even chatbots that are just really forms. We're asking people to, tick this box and tick that box so that we can ingest structured data and people can fit in little boxes. But the reality is that when you have a conversation with people, you get a lot of nuance, you get a lot of emotion, you get a lot of like feel that kind of plugs into your human intuition about how to handle that call. So people tell RiTA all sorts of things. People tell RiTA that they have to wait for their divorce to settle so that they can purchase. They tell RiTA that their kids are going off to university in another city, so they might be looking to sell at December. And they have this really natural conversation with RiTA that means, as an agent, you can just say, RiTA's let me know that you think you're coming on the market in December. Did you want to go to market in December, or should we be looking for a buyer around September to settle in December, or whatever the conversation is? You're the scripts coach, Tom. I'm never going to take that away from you. No danger there. But to be able to kind of know and hit with that ultra personalized, ultra individual conversation, because it's already been qualified and you've already got the input you need.
So, Sarah, when we did the Century 21 presentation, it was, off the top of my head, it was actually the last school holidays. So it was approximately, school holidays are coming up next week. Well, the girls are on school holidays now. I'm going to take away 14, that was about 13 weeks away, 12 weeks away. So let's call it 3 months. You had already started the text messaging before that. So you've had an opportunity to see what the results, and I'm just curious, can you give us an inkling, return of investment, results? What have you been getting?
Yeah, as it happens, I've actually got a case study from Century 21. So I just will flick through. There's like buyer prospecting as well. So many of us have such a high volume of buyers that you can't possibly call them all. So why not get RiTA to find out the ones that you should be calling? And kind of develop that lead. But this is sort of one of the early experiments that we had in Century 21. So this is Nick Stewart from Century 21 Novocastrian.
Good guy, very good guy.
Nick's a lovely guy.
He's a lovely guy. I saw him before COVID. I went there for a half day with his team. Young guy that I think he's taken the business over off his father. Am I right?
Yeah, off Wayne. Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell me, explain these results.
Good. Yeah, so Nick, great guy. And what we did with Nick was said, look, let's just turn RiTA on for a week just with your data, and then we'll present that back to the team. So this is the first week of RiTA working with Nick. So you've got, we chose a segment of data that was low risk. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to kind of trust a robot to talk to your database, even though you're not calling it. It can be a little bit hard to do that. So we said, look, let's call a section of property owners who you haven't called, SMS'd, you've completely ignored them for over a year, and let's just see what happens. So RiTA then used the algorithm and started about 20 conversations a day over the first week. And so what we ended up with was she started 78 conversations, and Nick actually had 32 people respond back in those 78 conversations. So that's a 41% response rate. And so, like, before we go any further, let's just think about that. Like, if you can imagine any other channel, like any other type of marketing, whether it's, I don't care if it's letterbox drops or door knocking or, you know, bulk email or whatever, even your phone calls, you know, we study phone calls intensely. You know, when are you going to have a 41% rate of people who actually are engaging with you? It's kind of phenomenal. So
that is extraordinary. That's extraordinary. That's even higher than the call connection rate I have with my own daughters.
I know the feeling. You try and call them and they just text back.
Yes, they won't speak to you. I mean, the only thing is I can see that they've seen it. I can see it on my phone. It says seen, but there's no response. But what I was going to say, look, guys, girls, think about this. You know, the name of the game is appraisals. That is the KPI that basically is going to dictate your real estate life, because appraisals equals listings, equals sales, equals income. 78 conversations started, 24 appraisals. Listen, I mean, Sarah, is this like the best result of the lot, or is this
no?
indicative?
This is what we expect.
Right.
You know, there is some variation in terms of the quality of the data. You know, Nick's got an advantage, you know, that it is a family business and then his name is sort of recognized in his town. So I'm like, anecdotally, I'm going to assume that has something to do with it. But, you know, we do expect around a 20-25% response rate. And we are seeing, you know, 4 or 5 appraisal requests a day coming out of this dormant old data that no one's got time to call. And so that's what we're seeing. And I did some math for Nick and worked out, just based on this result and what RiTA costs, it's about $10 a lead. But once we turn it on for the rest of his team, his cost of RiTA doesn't go up. And so his cost of appraisal per appraisal comes down to about $2.
So is there any other examples you've got here that we can have a look at?
Our friend Con, you know Con, don't you?
My word, do I know Con. The last, incredible operator. So let's have a look at here. What's he got? By the way, I consider him probably one of the best sales leaders in Australia and New Zealand. The growth that this guy has had, Sarah, in about a year. It's only been about a year, really, since the very first RiTA call session made Consort and data yield a 30,000 return. Fast forward last month, RiTA generated 125 appraisals. Now, RiTA, are we talking, Sarah? Are we talking about the SMSing or the phone and SMSing here?
Yeah, it's both. So what we know about this is that it works in combination. So RiTA can't list property and she can't call your owners and, you know, do the appraisal, and you probably don't want her to, because then we don't need real estate agents, right? So her job is to yield the, you know, really qualify those leads and push them right down the bottom of the funnel, and then the agents can pick up and call 5 people instead of 20 people. And that's what we're doing here. So I think in one of the first instances that RiTA's, you know, put a suggestion in front of a follow-up in front of Con's team, it's just been listed. So, you know, RiTA's paid for herself for 4 years. But I think, you know, if you go and look at their appraisal board, it's RiTA. And it's because this is a data-rich business, data that was previously disengaged. And it's, you know, for all the rocket science we do, Tom, it really comes down to the fact that if you can just engage with the people that you already know, then you don't need to go and, you know,
door knock as much.
Spend a fortune trying to capture, you know, people's attention in competitive, you know, non-sovereign marketplaces. So I'm talking about social media, right? Everybody's got access to social media. Everybody is paying to play on social media. So that's what you've got there is, you know, if you think about the long game strategically, what you've got there is kind of the base of an auction, right? If it's a pay to play environment, it's going to be held by the people who can pay the most. So the return on your investment in all of those arenas is going to diminish. And that's life, that's business, that's the market. But if you're ignoring 90% of the people that you already know, that's just a dumb game to play.
So can I ask you, which other CRM? I mean, I know that McGrath's and Owen, who was on here before you, use AgentBox and RiTA, and AgentBox integrates with RiTA.
Yes.
Sarah, for people to be able to use this, they need to have RiTA, and they need to have RiTA to integrate with their CRM.
Yeah, 100%. So
and which
RiTA,
CRMs? Which
yeah,
CRMs?
so RiTA works with the modern CRMs that have an API connection. So an API is like a plug that allows one piece of software to plug into another piece of software so you can leverage the features. And so the CRMs that have that capability that we work with at the moment are, of course, AgentBox, Rex, Vault, RE. For those still on my desktop, migrating to Vault, my desktop's one of them. Box and Dice is also available, and then eSales, which is another kind of proprietary CRM. So that, look, they are the major players in the industry. Oh, sorry, also ReNet, and those integrations really give you the best tool to plug into, you know, RiTA, but not just RiTA, lots of other software applications that will bolt on and enhance the CRM that you're working with.
I've just gone on and I've just seen that QR code actually takes you to your URL, your business, correct?
Yeah. So if you want to meet RiTA and have a conversation with RiTA, you can scan that QR code that's on the screen now, and it stays on the rest of these screens. I mean, the cool thing about that data that's disengaged as well, and Brad Till Woodard's, Bruce has got a good story there. It's not just like your next sales listing, you know, because RiTA gives you back time. You can start mining that data for lots of other leads as well. So, you know, in 4 weeks, we had a combination of RiTA starting the conversations by SMS, and then we also have a call center based in Brisbane of people that make phone calls to even further qualify RiTA's leads and essentially book appointments for agents. And in 4 weeks, they got 19 appraisals, 12 finance appointments, as we were kind of identifying finance leads as well for Brad Till, and 3 potential investors. So he's growing a finance arm of his business, growing the rent roll, and getting sales appraisals out of the same data, but just working it, just asking the right questions. And there's a million reasons why real estate agents can't do this. We know there's so many other things on their plate. There's all that important and urgent work that they have to do. And studying it more and understanding it more, one of the biggest challenges that agents have, particularly at the moment, is with so much buyer inquiry, you know, that there's so much extra demand on the service, but the service is the agent. So you've got a limited supply or a fixed capacity in so many hours of the day, but this fluctuating demand in terms of how much people want access to you urgently to buy houses and sell houses. And so, you know, as that fluctuates, it's really hard to get into a habit of working that data anyway. So why not just kind of put it on autopilot and deal with leads as they're surfaced to you?
Listen, I've got people texting me. I've got people sending messages there. You can see one up there on the screen from Barfoot and Thompson, and I'll text you the details because she's saying she wants to be contacted, and I think she's jumped off, and that's why she's put it on there. The fastest way, Sarah, for people to take the next step, what is it?
Yeah, so look, the fastest way is, if you're watching right now, you can scan that little heart at the bottom of the page and actually have a conversation with RiTA. And she's going to take your lead, and we've got a fantastic growth team now. It's not just me because I had a baby.
Baby.
So we've got James and Tristan and Siobhan now, all able to demonstrate and help you implement RiTA into your business so that you can get these results.
And by the way, gangs, it's not expensive. I'm telling you, you're probably going to pay for the subscription after a week having it, because there's nothing better in real estate to be able to know who to contact and the reason for the contact. Because I actually think one of the reasons why people suck in the game of chasing business is they've set themselves up for failure before they even start. They don't know who to speak to. They don't know what to say. They haven't got a list of people there. They sit there overwhelmed, staring at their computer, staring at yellow pieces of paper on their table, and then they get overwhelmed, and then all they do is they just go to the cafe and think, I don't want to think about it. It's torturing my brain. And they don't prospect.
And you know what, Tom, it's really indicative of the relationship that a lot of real estate agents have with technology. You know, I kind of thought when we started down this development, you know, kind of cycle 4 years ago that, you know, our crowd would be like the millennials that wanted AI and everything. But there's so many people in the kind of older generation that have this really like kind of toxic relationship with software that one guy said to me one day, he said, they stole my cards, you know, those like 3x4 cards. Yeah. They stole my cards and they hid them in the computer, Sarah. Like he was victimized by the CRM is how he felt, because he didn't have visibility. He couldn't find who to call. He didn't know what to say because he'd sort of lost that relationship that was really real and tactile to him and just lost it into kind of the cloud. So RiTA for him, by connecting him to just a small chunk of contacts and, you know, either a whole conversation that she's already had with them or even just a topic from the market as in something to talk about, just gave him that kind of human way of doing real estate back. And it's quite funny that we've needed this, you know, we've gone back to this renaissance of human to human real estate because now we've got this tooling that can help us do that at scale.
That's right. This ain't going to replace you. It's not going to substitute you. It's going to complement you. It's going to be like you've got a stunt double next to you, right? That's what it is. Anyway, Sarah, thank you so much from RiTA. Again, this is not a property promotion. This is actually education. There is no relationship between we're friends and we've done work together, but I'm not on a retainer from RiTA or the business. I just think to myself, this is a bit of technology that can help at the moment where agents are time poor and are dying for appraisals. And now we know why, because they're actually really only focusing on a very small part of the CRM system. So by the way, they're both, every agent that you featured there, good agents. Bruce, Greg Hocking, wasn't he? Yes, he was, I think. All righty. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Tom. Thanks so much for having me. Hi, gym members. It's been really great to come along, and yeah, we'd love to help you out.
All right. There's a lot of people that have watched this live on Zoom. A lot of people on the gym page on Facebook, and also we're going to email this out to the whole database. So most people watch this on a replay. And Sarah, I'll send you a text message of the person that wants to make contact with you. And everyone, signing off. Thank you for seeing you. Have a great day.